What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy New Year. And I wanted to take this time to talk about some of the gaming experiences that I've had within the 2022. And honestly, 2022 felt like a really long year because there's one game in particular on this list that came out back in January, and it felt like I played this game so long ago when it's only been about a year, which to some people is a long time, to other people not so much a long time. But what I wanted to do here is not so much do a top 10 best games I played in 2022 or a top 10 worst games I played in 2022. They're just 10 games that I played throughout the year, whether I completed them or not, whether or not I got a chance to do an actual review for them. And I do have some thoughts about these games, and I cannot say whether or not there will be spoilers in this list for some of these games that you may not have played. I'm gonna try my best not to do too much spoilers. I'm just gonna talk a bit more about how I felt about these games, whether or not I like some of the decisions they made or they didn't really agree with some of the things that they did. But that's just my opinion on all these games. Let's just jump right into this list and start off with number one, which did release in the beginning of January, or in January, as I mentioned earlier, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, this is a game that I found very interesting. It was kind of like a surprise arrival because we normally don't see two Pokemon games released in the same year, and we got this one in January, and I had a lot of thoughts about this game. I did appreciate the story. For one thing, the story was really incredible. There was a lot of mystery around the story, and just the different mechanics they're trying differently here. You know, the different Pokemon that you can ride on the back of and have different features, like gliding around the map on the Braviary and using the Ursa Ring to search for buried items. It was a really cool idea, as well as the Pokemon not being random encounters anymore. They were just open in the wild. And we know that with Pokemon, with one game release, they will try new mechanics and features and then implement it even further in the next game. And we'll talk about that later in the list when we get to the other Pokemon game. But I did appreciate that since the game was called Legends Arceus, it was focused around Arceus, the god of Pokemon, and there was a lot of mystery with that as well as a lot of things that you never would have expected. And there were some plot twists that I was like, wow, they actually did a good job at this one. Didn't really expect that to happen. So that was a pretty good release this year. And I've said this with friends of mine. We said this before. Despite how good some of these Pokemon games can be, they're always going to be held back by staying on a Nintendo console. I don't think Nintendo will ever make a console that's going to be comparable to a PS5 and a Series X within the next console generation, probably the one after that. So we're looking at maybe 10 to 12 years from now for that to happen. But I do think that these games would very much benefit on a much stronger console. And I do have another example that I'm going to talk about in a bit. So moving on to the number two game that I played this year. Again, no particular order, for the most part, no particular order, I guess. But Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Now, my main problem with this game was the fact that I played it on Switch like a dumbass. Because on Switch, it didn't look terrible, but it had a few bugs and glitches. There was one where I was in the fight against Darth Maul, and I had to do a certain button command to get through the fight, and it wouldn't prompt me to do it, so I couldn't progress. I had to reset the checkpoint. I've had some audio bugs. I've had some other glitches like the Darth Maul one, and I do think I would have benefited from playing the game on a better console. At the time, I did have a PS4 Pro, and at the time I think I had a Series S, and I could have played it on Series S, but I didn't want to get it digitally. I wanted to get a physical thing. But I do think that the game is a pretty good fun to have with the game. There was a bit of a lie within the game itself. They said you could start with any movie in the franchise that you want to start with. That wasn't necessarily true. You start from one of the three trilogies, so you're either going to start with Episode 1, Episode 4, or Episode 7. But despite that, there was voice acting, which was, it was decent. I didn't like all the jokes they made about Kylo Ren with, it was a lot of shirtless jokes about Kylo Ren. Didn't really think it was cool. It was just kind of like a joke they wanted to do because he had a shirt off in one of the movies or whatever. And the different worlds you could visit were pretty interesting, but I do wish I played it on a stronger console to experience it much better. Coruscant could have been a lot better in a next-gen console. Tatooine was And there was a couple of things I didn't really understand with how to, choose certain characters and how to set your team up. It was a bit complicated, but despite that, there's a lot of cool things in here. A lot of collectibles to find, like a lot of collectibles. There was all 9 movies. They had space battles you could engage in. So that was all pretty cool. And I do have it now on Game Pass, and I do have a Series X. If you probably know, if you've been following my channel, you know I have a Series X. So I might give it another shot on Series X to see how much better the experience is. Moving on from there with the third game that I'm going to talk about here, and that is going to be Grand Theft Auto 5. Yes, it did re-release this year on next-gen consoles. I did play it on the, my original file was on the PS4, and I migrated it to my Series X because I didn't have a PS5 at the time. And I should have waited because I normally would play the game online with my brothers, but we haven't really been playing together for a while, and I almost never have PlayStation Plus, so I migrated it to the next-gen console that I had, and the next-gen upgrade does have some improvements in the visuals and the performance, but at the end of the day, it's still Grand Theft Auto 5. You're still playing the same game for another 7 years or so. I don't know what they're going to do with the next game. I'm thinking, since the next Grand Theft Auto is set to be in the 80s, I hope they don't decide to just do a single player story for the GTA 6 only, and then continue with GTA Online for Los Santos and just keep updating that. That's what's making their money. They're making billions and billions of dollars on the online. So we could potentially see Rockstar only sticking with that online for the future, and then do a separate just campaign for the 6th game. But yeah, GTA 5 next gen, it's like $20 on sale typically. I wouldn't pay the $40 for it. It's GTA 5. Moving on, Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, the next gen version of that also did release this year. The way I got into playing this game on next gen, because I had it on PS4, I thought it was alright. Despite all the bugs and glitches and all that, it was alright. And my nephew had it, so we were doing a share play on the PS5, because at that point I had a PS5 finally, and we did the share play so I could test it out and play it for myself. And I saw it on sale. I was like, it's on sale, I'll just buy it, and my file would just continue. I did have one problem with my file, which was that my save file was at the last checkpoint, or the last cutscene rather, so I couldn't do anything else but watch that cutscene again, and it would just loop me back to that cutscene. So I either had to try to load a much earlier save, or start a new profile. So I did a new profile just to do a game from the beginning, make some different choices, different class and all that stuff. Is the game perfectly fixed from before? No. Is the game, a very fun experience with the story and everything? It kind of. Basically what I want to talk about this game is that while there are improvements to the game visually, performance-wise, and they have fixed a lot of bugs, there are still some bugs that still exist. I had one that was very crazy. But for a lower price, I would say it's an interesting purchase. If I had to choose between this game and The Witcher 3, since they're both by the same company, I would probably choose Witcher 3 over this one. But this one was still very interesting. It still has some interesting things about it. The futuristic setting, the different upgrades you can use, the different vehicles you can drive. And if you can get past just the minor bugs that are still in the game, you're going to have a decent time at if you buy this game at a lower cost. Plus, the new DLC is going to have Idris Elba in the game, so that's pretty cool. I can't wait to see how that works out, because everyone loves Idris Elba, right? Who doesn't? Moving on, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. This also released officially for the PS5 this year. It does have only Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, if you didn't know. And I will not buy this game at full price if I were you, because it is like $40-50 full price. I got it on sale digitally for like $20. It was also on sale physically for the holiday at $20. If they had made this game with the first 3 Uncharted games, even if they weren't upgraded to PS5, just here's the trilogy and then here's the last 2 games, then I'll say pay $50 for it, sure. But for just these 2 games, I wouldn't pay the full price. And I gotta say, Uncharted 4 on this new bundle seems to got majority of the upgrades compared to Lost Legacy. I didn't see much of an improvement in Lost Legacy compared to the PS4 version, but with Uncharted 4 there is a huge improvement with the facial animations, the graphics, the lighting, everything in it. It just looks great on the PS5. So Legacy of Thieves was an interesting game that I played. Trying to get back into the swing of things. I only played Uncharted 4 once, and I did complete it once. So I don't remember too much about the story, and in Legacy of Thieves I did beat once as well, so I will try. I want to go back into that one as well again. Moving on to number 6, WWE 2K22. I am a bit of a wrestling fan. That's like the only sport that I engage in, but I haven't watched a lot of wrestling. I'm more of a casual, and I missed the past few wrestling games because they've been bad. It took a year off because the previous one, which I think was 2K20, was terrible. And then I don't remember 19 too much. So I used to play the previous ones, and with this one, I gotta say, with the issue I had with the Rey Mysterio story mode, it wasn't a big deal. It was just some of the narration was a bit weird for me, but at the same time, I love Rey Mysterio. Just seeing his history and how, from when he started to where he is now, I do wish they put more matches in the story mode for Rey Mysterio. I'm sure there's a lot more matches that we didn't get to see that would have been great. But the story mode itself was cool because throughout the matches, it would transition from gameplay graphics to actual footage from the actual match. And that was really cool, the way they transitioned very seamlessly. Gameplay-wise, I have noticed a couple of glitches. Not too many, just a couple. It only happened, honestly, when I did like a 4-player mode. When I do single player or just at most 3 players, haven't seen as many glitches before, but it was only when 4-player happened. So that was very weird. But there's a lot of game modes. There are a lot of customization options. I do wish they did fix the entrance editor, because it used to be a lot more... more options and a much better entrance creator. Now it's very basic, very limited to what you can do. Back then you could choose the kind of fireworks you want to do, when you wanted to set them off and that kind of thing. Here you can't, but I do know they were going to save it for the next game, so hopefully the next game does bring in the things that they removed. I can predict that the next game will have Undertaker as the main character, because he just retired and got inducted to the Hall of Fame this past year. So again, this game was very fun time to play with multiplayer. You can download created items from the internet, from other players, even ones on PC. Like one of the pay-per-views recently was in Scotland. I can't remember the name of the pay-per-view itself, but someone created that arena exactly the way it was in Scotland, and I downloaded it, and it's really cool to see that kind of thing. I also downloaded the KFC Championship belt, which my brother currently holds because he defeated us for the KFC Championship belt. But that is something cool as well that we were able to do with this game. So 2K22 was on sale for like $20, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it. Whether or not you want to buy it now or wait till the next game, I think the next game comes out in March or April, I think. So for $20-something, $22, not a bad price to get it for a couple months and then get the new one. But it's up to you what you want to do with that one. Moving on to number 7, Horizon Forbidden West. Now, this one did come with my PS5, so it was like one of the first games I played on PS5. And I gotta say, I didn't really care too much about the previous game, Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn was also a very difficult game, very challenging, very hard to get through. And when I look back at it now, because my memory has it looking beautiful, and then now that I go back to it, because I still have a copy of it, it doesn't look as good as I remembered it. But Forbidden West, oh my god, this game looks phenomenal. It has great gameplay. It's not easy, but it's easier in my opinion than the previous one. Much more intuitive. You have a much better understanding of how you can play the game and different things you can do, different traps, different elements you can use. The world itself is massive. The photo mode is pretty good. I get lost in photo mode. For any game that has a good photo mode, I'm getting lost for hours just taking photos and different things I can do. Other than that, I do have some issues with the voice actress for Aloy. I do think certain segments she just talks a bit too low, and she's kind of just mumbling to herself and whispering to herself, and I got to use my headphones to hear her, and I'm like, what exactly are you trying to say, or what is going on in this level? But I did have one issue where I was playing on my previous TV. I had a 43-inch TV, and the issue was like the image itself would be kind of like whited out in a way, kind of like I forgot the word they used for it, like washed out in a way. And then when you move the camera, it'll get much more vibrant and clear when you're slowly moving the camera, and then it'll go back to that whited out display. Since I do have now a much bigger TV, and I think a better TV as well, it fixed that problem completely. So I don't know if it was just the other TV was outdated, or just a smaller size screen will cause that weird effect. But the game is much more visually impressive now. And audio for the combat and the machines you're battling, it's pretty damn cool. And I'm actually in this game, like I'm playing it more and more, and I'm gonna try to complete it because the DLC does come out this year, where you're gonna go to Los Angeles. So that's pretty damn cool. I can't wait to see that. So that's Horizon Forbidden West. I do wish that mine was a physical copy. I'm a physical collector. Mine was digital because they do digitals now with the bundles. But a fun game. If you have a PS5, even if you have a PS4, and you're gonna get a PS5 down the road, play it. It's great. I would like to have beaten the previous one to get this one, to start this one off, but I'll get to it eventually. Moving on, number 8, Gran Turismo 7. Now I feel like most of these games, I have a bit of a problem with them, right? Here's my problem with Gran Turismo 7. Number 1, you still need to be online to play the game. Not a big deal, but if my internet is ever down, I can't play the game, right? Number 2, and I've played so many racing games in my time, but the fact that this game, for some reason, does not have the tires turn more than they need to. Like a tire, when you turn a tire or a wheel, steering wheel the way, your tire is supposed to turn as much as it's allowed. And this game kind of takes the turn and it only moves it like this much. So when you're making your turns, you have to slow down tremendously to make the turns. There is drifting in the game, but you need to have a certain drift build because it is a simulator, it's not arcade. So you have to first know how to drift and also know how to build a drift build. But just turning itself can be a pain in the ass. And also with some of the customization options, the tuning is not as complicated as I thought it would be, but still not as simplified as like Need for Speed games. Some customizations are a pain in the ass to figure out. I was trying to download a customized decal for a car that another user created, and it was just a lot of steps I had to take just to download, save it, download it to this list, and then apply it to this car, and then apply it after that. It was a pain in the ass. A lot of things could be much more simplified. You can't sell your cars that you unlock, so you can get cars you don't really want. You're not going to have any use for them. You can't sell them to put towards other cars. Other than that, there are some races that will have different specifications. Like I did a race where actual fuel was being used in the race, and I only lost because as I was approaching the finish line, my fuel hit empty, and my car just tremendously started to slow down because I had no fuel to use. Aside from that, there are some times where the game looks visually amazing, and sometimes it just doesn't look that great. It varies from track to track, but for the most part, the game looks great. The cars look amazing. They sound amazing. It's more of the car's controls that I have a bit of issue with, just being able to steer them properly, especially when you have to do a series of licensing exams to be able to take part in future events. You can't progress without getting those licenses, and some of those challenges, it's a pain in the ass to get those turns to get the gold medal, because when you get a gold in all races, you get an extra reward car, as opposed to just finishing the races, you get one car. Other than that, I wish there was a bit more customization with the controls as well, in terms of like your steering, your brake assist. There is some controls for those things, but it's not as detailed as I thought it would be. But it's still a fun game. Not for everybody, honestly. If you're more of an arcade racer like a friend of mine, you're not going to enjoy this game. If you enjoy Forza, but whether it's Horizon or Motorsport, I do gotta say that Forza, both Horizon and Motorsport, are much better games compared to Gran Turismo, especially Motorsport, as that simulator, way better than Gran Turismo in my opinion. But for now, I'm enjoying this one as it is. I use my Apple Music subscription to play my music while I'm playing Gran Turismo, because the in-game music sucks for the most part. So I'll just play my music, and I'll just drive in and racing and listen to my music with my headphones. I can't wait for the next Forza to release. It's gonna be a lot much fun. So if you are interested in racing and you want to try this game out, get it on sale. I got it on sale for like $30 or something like that. Wait till it's around that price range, maybe a bit cheaper for Gran Turismo. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It certainly wasn't for me, but I'm enjoying it. So, moving on, number 9, Bayonetta 3. I never got a chance to beat this game because after it released, I played it for a bit, and then we had Pokemon Violet and God of War Ragnarok released, and then Need for Speed Unbound. So I didn't get to play this game, but graphically, it's really impressive for the Switch, honestly. And this is one of those examples where the game would do a lot much better on a next-gen console, PS5, Series X, PC. It would look a lot more better on that one. I do not like the segments where you play as the other characters. One being, I forgot their names, honestly. Jean is one of them, and the other one, I can't remember her name, the new character, Viola, I think her name was. I don't like those segments because Jean's segments are really crappy side-scrolling mission break-in base break-in segments. I don't really like those missions. They're kind of and playing as Viola, not as satisfying as playing as Bayonetta. Now, one thing that I did find really great about this game is the customization you get for Bayonetta. So in previous games, you can choose various weapon styles, various weapons to use, and combine them in different styles. But for this one, you don't really get that same customization for the weapons. It's more so like you can use this weapon or this weapon, but each weapon does have its own transformation for her Umbran Witch mode, or whatever they call it, kind of like her Demon Trigger type of thing. And you can also customize her outfit in terms of like the colors that she wears. You can change the color of her outfit completely, and you can unlock the alternate versions of her from the different universes. So I had one that was she was the spider from Devil May Cry. They gave me hell about that on my video, that they're the same universe. No, bullshit. I don't have confirmation that the same universe. It's just the developer taking a character and implementing it to the other one. But besides the point, there's a version of her that has like a different hair color and a ponytail and everything. You can unlock that version of her. There was a Bayonetta who's a train conductor type of thing. You can unlock that version to play as that one as well. Or you can just change the color of the costume, and that was pretty cool. I do want to go back and complete it because there's a lot of cool moments in the game that I've seen. There's actually a big ass kaiju battle early in the game, and I was just like, yo, this is really great. This was a good competitor for like Game of the Year in my opinion. Of course, I don't think it was nominated because of the other games that was releasing, but Bayonetta 3, phenomenal on Switch, surprisingly, but it should be on a better console. But I do think it's a fun game if you haven't played it yet. I don't think you need to play the previous games to get the story on this one. I will say you do need subtitles for the main bad guy, because the main bad guy, when he talks, I don't understand what the fuck he's saying, so I gotta use subtitles just to like understand what he's saying, read his text. But Bayonetta 3, try it out if you have a Switch. I gotta go back to it and play it. I still gotta beat other games as well, but I'm gonna get back to it eventually. Now, next one, God of War Ragnarok. This was my game of the year, honestly. And I do want to briefly explain as well what my beef was about Elden Ring winning Game of the Year, because the Game Awards does this thing where one game will just dominate the award show. They win awards left and right. And then they lose Game of the Year. And in some cases, that would be justified, kind of. And here's what I mean by that. God of War 2018 did win Game of the Year, despite not winning a lot of awards that night, and Red Dead Redemption 2 won a majority of the awards that night. And as much as I love God of War 2018, I do not agree that it should have beaten Red Dead Redemption 2 for Game of the Year. Red Dead Redemption 2, and not just my opinion, but a lot of people's opinions, one of the greatest games of all time. It definitely should have taken Game of the Year. Now, for people to say that Elden Ring was a much more better game than God of War Ragnarok in terms of the story and the visuals, you gotta give me a break, because I've seen Elden Ring's visuals, not as impressive as God of War. If you see some of the facial animations of God of War, some of the performances in here, it's freaking phenomenal. And then with storytelling, the fact that Elden Ring requires you to search for, books and characters to get the story told to you, whereas God of War is a cinematic storytelling, it's phenomenal. When someone told me in the comments it's a running simulator or some bullshit, and God of War is an easy game. God of War is by no means an easy game. Especially if you play it on Give Me God of War difficulty, it's not an easy game. So people need to stop talking that kind of shit. Do your research. I'm not a fan of Elden Ring. I don't think that it deserved Game of the Year, despite a lot of mixed reviews. There are people who love the game because they're Souls fans, and there's people who hate the game who are both Souls fans and non-Souls fans. But I actually met a guy from a collectible store who is a die-hard Souls fan. He showed me his achievement collection on his system from his app, and he spent like 200 hours in Elden Ring alone, and he told me himself he does not feel that Elden Ring should have got Game of the Year over God of War, and he also does not agree with the get good mentality. It's a stupid mentality. I have expressed before that these Souls games, should have a mode that is welcoming to newcomers. Not saying make it super easy, but less difficult for newcomers who want to get involved in this franchise. And it seems like a closed-off franchise for players, and it's not a good thing. We should be talking about inclusion. Get more people interested in your game. If you want people to like your game and understand what you see about it, it should be more inclusive for new players. Now, I can see the argument of God of War only being a PlayStation exclusive, but the games are coming to PC anyway. If you're a PC gamer, you can get it there. But more to the point of God of War Ragnarok, I didn't agree with some of the story elements towards the end of the game, especially based on actual Norse mythology that I've researched. There were certain things that I thought would be a lot better. I don't want to go into too much spoilers here. I'll probably do a different video with spoilers about that. But aside from that, the game was amazing with the story, the progression, the different things you could find, the secrets you can unlock. They did finally add photo mode, so I have to do a new game eventually to try it. I don't know if New Game Plus has been added yet, but I am waiting for that to be included in the game. So I think God of War Ragnarok was a great game. It probably should have taken another year so it can be exclusive to next gen, only because I think it does suffer a little bit by being on both last gen and current gen. I do wish that they did make this into a trilogy. Cory Barlog said he didn't want these games to be a trilogy because he didn't want players to wait another 4 to 6 years for the third game to get the story of Ragnarok finalized. But I think if they had waited and did a trilogy, then they could make the story of Ragnarok much more bigger and better, much more of a chaotic masterpiece, and it could have done some elements that would be very reflective of the actual Norse mythology, because there are some characters within Norse mythology that don't exist in this game, and I think that we would have benefited from an adult Atreus in Ragnarok as opposed to a teenage Atreus. I would have loved to have seen that happen. I would have waited the extra years, but I get why they didn't want people to wait. I also wish that Cory Barlog had did this game and not the other guy, because I think he had an actual different idea of how this game would have gone, but he just wanted to pass it along to this other guy. But still a great game. I encourage you to try it out if you haven't played it yet. I know a couple of guys who haven't played it yet because they didn't beat the last one, but one of my friends did finally get Ragnarok and he's enjoying it, so that's incredible. Now, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. So when this game came out, there was a bit of concern in terms of how this game would actually function with the 4-player co-op, which I didn't have too much experience playing the 4-player co-op like I wanted to. Out of my friends, I was the first person to get the game, and we did have this agreement about which starter Pokemon we were going to choose. I chose the grass starter, one of my friends had water, the other one had fire, and my problem with this game was, number one, I think all 3 starters in this game were terrible, in my opinion. I had to choose one to be the best out of the 3. Honestly, for me, it was the water one that was the better one in terms of design for the final form. Other than that, again, this game would have benefited on a much more stronger console, but the fact that this game was a full open world Pokemon game and you can take on any challenge whenever, in any order you wanted to, as long as you are at the right level, that was pretty cool. And I do hear from my friends that keep telling me, because they beat the game and got the Pokedex completed already. I have not beat the game yet. I'm still on the Elite Four, and then the last couple things I got to beat as well. But they're telling me the post game is phenomenal. It's really great. One of the best post games of any Pokemon game. I just can't get myself to sit there and play it, mainly because for me, I did skip a lot of trainer battles. That's a me problem. I skipped a lot of trainer battles. So I didn't train as much as I should have. The raids for me are still kind of boring. I hate the new terrestrialization feature. I think Mega Evolution should have been the one thing to stay. Z moves were and then I didn't really care too much about Dynamax and Gigantamax. I think Mega Evolution was the best thing they could have done, and they should have kept it. But the good thing about this game is there is a lot of story in this game. There's a side story with one of the nurse at the school. There's the Team Star thing, which did surprise me a bit. A part of it was like somewhat predictable, but somewhat surprising to see what changed. The different characters that you had to battle were kind of annoying, especially like the boss battle with them. They all had the same Pokemon at the end. It was really annoying. But the other things you got to do, like you got to battle the Titan Pokemons. Those are really cool. You can capture them, but they won't be in the Titan size, unfortunately. But there is also the thing, minor spoiler if you haven't played the game, but you do have these past and future versions of these other Pokemons. Like Don Fan has the future version called Iron Threads, and then the past one is Great Tusk, I think. And some of these do have really cool designs, like Volcanion, or whatever that one is called, Volcarona, has a really cool future form. Hariyama has a cool one that I've seen a couple of these future forms. Roaring Moon, I think is the name of the old Salamence one. I need that Pokemon, and I need to go through the game and keep playing. But what is good about Pokemon Violet? Well, despite the performance issues and the pop-ins, the terrible pop-ins, which is excusable because it's on Switch, it's excusable, and it's Game Freak. You know, they don't get a lot of time to work in these games. But I do love the fact that this was a full open world game, and you can do co-op with your friends. I did think that you were able to do gym battles together. We weren't able to test it out because we didn't play it till after we beat the gyms. because my friends were slackers. Sorry guys, but I do wish we got to see it for ourselves, see if we can do it. The real complaint for me here, honestly, is the raid battles are kind of bland because it's just a raid battle, and you are going to see the same raids over and over again. To do some of the special raids, you have to beat the game completely to do those raids, like the recent Charizard raid. The terrestrialization, I said before, it's disgusting, it's ugly, it's horrible. I think it's really dumb. I don't agree with it at all. The starter Pokemons were just crap, and you can't change your outfit to like normal cool clothes. You have to wear some type of school uniform, and I did make a video about that separately, a YouTube short. So some of those things were kind of crappy, but I do believe this will open the door for the black and white remakes to be fully open world. That would be really great, especially because those games were supposed to be in like New York and stuff like that. So I just can't wait to see what they do with that. I am interested in seeing the other legendary Pokemons. I've only seen like 2 of them. I gotta get back into that game and play it. I need my friends to play with me so I can just do raids with somebody and not be bored and alone and get more XP candies and actually beat the game. But there's a lot of story in this game. One of the few Pokemon games that has a really good story compared to the other basic ones. But I cannot wait to see where this game will go, and I need to get back into it and play it ASAP. But I'm just spoiled by the PS5 and the Series X. I play more next-gen games than I play this one. But I'm going to get back to it, and I'm going to try to play it. Other than that, there's a lot of Pokemon to capture and a lot of cool new ones. A lot of cool new ones for sure. And then, you know, new versions of old ones. There's like a new version of Tentacool that's like a different species. A new Diglett that's ugly and looks like a penis, but whatever. New Tauros form, both a fire one and a water one, and the standard new black one. That's really cool. You can do you can send a Pokemon out to run around with you and they can battle automatically. It's a really cool, quick way to train Pokemon. Really interesting to see. And also, if your Pokemon gets their ass kicked, they'll just come back to you. That's pretty much it for the most part with Pokemon. It's you know, interesting games. It's Pokemon, you know what you're getting out of it. But you do have that open world, which could have been a bit more. It seems a bit empty for most parts, most of the wild areas. I understand that, but they could have made some of these towns and cities even bigger since they have a huge map to explore. Those things could have been a bit bigger. Could have been more options, more clothing options, more shopping options. But it's a good stepping point in for the future of Pokemon. But Nintendo, you gotta stop fucking around and make a much more stronger console. It's time, guys. It's time. Honestly, if we have to sacrifice the portability features for a much more stronger Nintendo console, just so we can get Pokemon and Monster Hunter and I guess Zelda and Smash to be as visually impressive as these other consoles, fuck it, I'll sacrifice the handheld. I almost never play my Switch in handheld anyway. I never take it with me anywhere I go, so I'm fine with that. Some people might be, some people may not be. It's time, Nintendo. Stop fucking around, get this shit going. Last game I'm going to talk about here is very unfortunate, Need for Speed Unbound. Now, I have gotten mixed comments in my videos about people who like the game and people who hate the game. And from what I played, I did the trial on Xbox. I did about, I think it was like 10 hours you get of the trial. So I played about 10 hours of the game. Positives I can say about the game is the cars sounds great. The ray tracing is really amazing. Like some of the visuals and ray tracing is really great. As for the cartoon characters, anime characters, which as someone argue with me is not anime characters, not anime effects, suck my dick because it is and you're an idiot, okay? If you look at it, it's clearly anime, you know, characters or anime visual effects, but I gotta say that the game itself, to me, is not it. You know, it's not cutting it. I did at one point go back to Need for Speed Heat, and I did enjoy a bit of it more as I got through it a bit more, but still room to improve. This game is not going back to its roots of Underground and Most Wanted. I think we need to get those, you know, those mechanics in those games and get them much more perfected here. My problem with Need for Speed Unbound is, number one, you have an unfair advantage with the races in the beginning of the game. And I know that normally racing games do that where you don't have a really fast car at start, but the cars you're racing against are also comparable in your speed and your performance. Whereas this game, you were racing against cars that are much faster than you, your nitrous is ass, the handling at times is ass, and they have you, you know, place wagers against other racers to see how, you know, what place you're going to come in, how much money you're going to win. And you're not always going to win those bets. You're going to lose even more money. So you're forcing the person to spend more and more time on this game trying to earn money to get better cars and better upgrades. but it's such a grind to get those upgrades. Even if you do a police pursuit, I'm trying to rack up as much points as I can so I can earn more money at the end, and I'm ramming cop cars left and right, bashing them off the roads, and I'm not getting any more heat level. I'm not getting chased by the police, so that was another problem that needs to be fixed. The map itself was great. The map is very sizable, it's very diverse, it's a beautiful map. You do have NPCs in the street that will run away if you try to hit them, so at least the world feels a little bit more alive. But you also are going to be racing against the same opponents over and over and over again. I have a wager going on against the same racer over and over again, and I don't think that this game is great. If you got it on sale or you got it as a gift for this holiday season, then you might have more fun with it because you didn't spend the $60-$70 for this game. I do not think this game is worth that much money. I do think there's a lot of improvement with updates that can be made, but you gotta be honest here, and you gotta stop talking this bullshit that you think the game is amazing and phenomenal. It's a game by EA. It's Need for Speed by EA. It's not gonna be great. The last great Need for Speed game for me personally was Rivals. I had a great time with Rivals. Rivals was a really fun game. And of course, Need for Speed Carbon was ass. The second most wanted was ass. The original most wanted was phenomenal. Underground 2 and Underground 1 was phenomenal. Need for Speed Heat, I did enjoy a bit more of it when I got back to it, but again, it's still not that top tier Need for Speed game for me. Need for Speed 2015 was actually a pretty fun game. Police Pursuit was a bit easier than previous games, but it was a fun game, despite the cringy dialogue. But I unfortunately do not think Need for Speed Unbound is an amazing game. I think that it suffers from a lot of different things, as I mentioned earlier, and I wish that this game did a lot better. I wish they didn't have a mix between realistic graphics for the cars and the anime graphics for the characters. Just choose one or the other. And I don't know why they thought A$AP Rocky was a selling point. A$AP Rocky is not a good rapper in my opinion, and I don't think that's a good selling point for a game. You know, at least in 2015 Need for Speed, there were characters in the game that each had their own theme. Like this guy was about drifting, this guy was about convoy races and stuff like that. But these characters are real life racers. They're real life car enthusiasts. Ken Block and Nagasan. These are actual real life racers who have their own cars and have their own themes. And it actually felt like you were taking part in these guys' interests and learning about their styles. Ken Block has the fucking Hoonigan Mustang, the Unicorn Mustang, and he's a rally racer, and he does his Gymkhana races, his Gymkhana events with the Unicorn. So that actually made sense to have those characters in the game, these real life people in the games. But having these cartoon things, it was just kind of weird. But that's basically what I played for 2022. There might have been a couple more games that I played that released this year. I just can't remember them. It's been a long year. These are just the ones I wanted to talk about. Again, not any ranking or anything. Let me know about these games that you played, which ones you enjoyed, which ones you didn't enjoy. Were there any games that you played this year that I missed? Maybe I played some of them and I forgot about them. Let me know down below in the comments. I hope you guys are enjoying, you enjoyed the holidays, and hope you're ready for the new year. I'm trying to get back up and running. This video's been going on for like over 30 minutes now, so I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna edit this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for supporting me for the past year. We are just making slow progress to the next subscriber count. I think we're close to can't remember if it was 400 or 500. I haven't been on YouTube in a while. Let's keep pushing. Let's try to make that 1,000 by some point this year. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.